Hey, everybody. Hope you're doing extremely well. I'm sorry I've been out for a while, focusing on other things and reevaluating pretty much everything going on, dealing with a few things, and doing some soul searching as you have to do in life, periodically at least. And happy to be back and engaging with you guys. And thanks for sticking around and remaining subscribers. I appreciate it. So, the apology I'm going to issue, or more of a rethinking I have about career and moving out young, is I highly, highly recommended in the not too distant past the tech industry because my experience um, getting into it was hot. It's a hot industry. It seemed to just grow and grow and grow forever on this exponential curve. And most importantly, in my experience, as well as many of my friends and family members, people who are close to me, paid disproportionately highly, commensurate with your experience and education, which I needed at that time. And when I first got into it about 15 years ago, and I shifted roles a couple of times within the tech sector during those 15 years. But regardless, you could almost always count on something, and it paid very well. So not only that, but there was a meritocracy attached to it. This is the learn to code meme that went around. Yeah, a lot of people. I was actually never a coder myself. I was a project manager and then a user experience designer during that time, and did very well in both roles, to tell you the truth. But it was almost silly to go to university for any of those because you could self-instruct for a few months sometimes. Or I had known and working for companies some interns who were there in college and came in as unpaid interns and only did that role for 3 months and then had to be hired as paid junior developers because it got to be silly to not pay them, who then traded up for careers that paid jobs that paid twice as much because either the current job was going to promote them or they were going to go elsewhere. And I successfully traded up many times. And so all the things that I really believed in, and I still do, like, well, you got to grow up, right? You got to move out of your parents' house, even if that means working a job you don't like that much because of the life experience. And I'm not going back on that. I'm saying that's true, but we're living in a different world now where the economy is just not what it used to be. And you're seeing this decline, right? And young adults are making less than the prior generation, Gen X, Gen Y, which is making less than the boomers did. And that's distorted. That's not the way it should be. So we can blame AI and stuff, although I think there's a lot of misunderstanding about AI, as AI is not really replacing jobs so much as the false promise of trying to make it happen is replacing jobs. So the tech industry in particular has gone manic. It's just gone hog wild with FOMO that the competitor might be doing it, and misallocating resources and laying people off trying to make the human replacement happen. And then there's a flip side to that, which is the crash of just the traditional online way of applying to jobs. Or now you have AI resume and cover letter scrubbing software, and the counter weapon to that is AI generating resumes and content, and there's no way to apply or apply on the hopeful applicant side and qualify on the employer side. So people are just resorting to who they know, personal connections. So it's almost like the technology never existed. It's like a regression. But the primary bugaboo in all this, we all know, has been the fiat currency system, Keynesian economics, right? Chicago School economics, and all this money printing, which both parties in the U.S. love doing and have loved to do for decades and decades, right? Just print money for everything, right? Shut the economy down over COVID mania, and it's no problem because we'll tweak the interest rate, this and that, and it's obviously caused a flight out of the country for manufacturing as a response to. I don't think you would need a minimum wage if we had a value backed currency like a true free market currency economy. Then that how much you're making is, it's relative, right? You very well might work for $1 an hour if it was gold backed dollar, but that caused the flight of manufacturing out of the country. So anyway, like, I can't recommend it anymore. I can't recommend tech anymore because it doesn't deliver the promise that it once did. When I was advocating this, preaching it literally, I really, as I said, I really liked it. Hey, you put in a good 12 months of self-study and you got a 6-figure job or close to it. You're well on your way. And there was something for everyone in tech. You didn't have to be a super even technically minded person. If you were more of a people person, then there's the product manager, project manager role, or PMO role, PDM role, PM role, right? If you just like the administrative side, there's the business analyst side. If you're more of an artsy person, kind of more of a right brain artistic person, there's visual design, graphic design, or user experience, which I did for about 10 years of those 15 years. And if you're, blessed to be a more of a technical person, you have your coders, your front end, your back end coders, database admin, IT, help desk people. There was literally something for everyone, and there was lots of money to be thrown around. And again, you're paid disproportionately highly for the education. And that's when the whole kind of meme circulated. Why would you bother with going to university when you can just, if you have just this much discipline? So I don't think I was wrong to advocate it at that time, but I can't anymore because the jobs aren't there. The entry level jobs are taking a hit. There's some AI replacement of humans going on, but not as much as you're being led to believe. It's a lot of mania and a lot of fetishism for it in the business side, and a lot of misunderstanding of what it can and can't do, and a push to replace people that really can't be done on a lot of levels. I have a friend I was talking to who's a background artist for video games, and he's saying, well, it's running out of ideas, so it has to hire more background artists, digital artists, to generate new ideas because the AI becomes self-referential at a certain point. It's like, yeah, because it only has so many tokens until it has to forget what you've trained it on. Otherwise, it'd have to remember everything you've told it forever. It doesn't have enough compute to have a memory for an entire individual human's lifespan, let alone a cultural lifespan. It's just riffing off of all the work that humans have done. So I think there'll be a correction. I don't know if you want to say crash or correction, and the tech industry may have a revival, but it'll be a fraction of what it once was because it can't maintain the novelty forever. I think we're seeing kind of the tail end, kind of the decay. People have called it rot, like that. Well, we had this digital fetishism for long enough, and it was spun up on Web 1.0, which yielded way to 2.0, which was really the social era, to 3.0, which you might call the smartphone era or the mobile social era, which is this kind of the smartphone taking over everything. And now what? The AI revolution is very manufactured. There's an attempt to try to keep the hype up. But you look at the financials. Ed Zitron is a good reference. He's an investigative reporter who's really looked at the financials of these companies and how underwater they are. That very few of them are solvent. I believe Anthropic is the only one, and even still, just barely. But OpenAI is underwater. Microsoft's Copilot, which they went all in on, is just licensed GPT, and that's if they really charged what they needed to break even on it, no one would pay. No, you wouldn't pay $100 a month for Copilot, would you? So and Ed Zitron, he's a cool guy. He's a bit of a socialist, and I'm not a fan of his politics. And most of you, if you're watching my channel, probably aren't. But doesn't mean he's wrong about everything. I think he's got the kind of the rot of the industry nailed, and he's instead of just buying into the hype machine and guzzling the Kool-Aid of AI, he's actually looking at it going, is this solvent? Like, how much money are these companies pouring into this? And it's really just kind of revolving door of like they, you know, Microsoft, Google pays Nvidia, and they turn this around, and they just can't change money hands forever until the whole thing kind of comes crashing down. So going back to my initial point, because I was a super, I don't want to fall into the boomer mentality when they would confront me with just do what I did. Look, I just worked the same job. That's the world they grew up in. They're the wealthiest generation in history. Plenty of wonderful people that I love that are boomers, and a lot of y'all are a bunch of crusty old narcissists who refuse to treat anyone a day younger than you as an adult. Sorry, there's all generations have their problems, but the boomers have been a kind of a special case in a lot of ways. But maybe that's my thing because that's the world I grew up in, was the boomer run world. But their world was, well, like, you have a job, and even if it's not that great, well, you could count on it your whole life. And if you lost it, you screwed up. All you got to do is cater to the boss, cater to the hierarchy. Why don't you just do what I did? You just worked a job for 30 years. You have your 401k, you have a financial advisor, and I retired with a lot of them work for the government. So they have a 401k and a pension and their own savings. So like, and Social Security. So 3 income sources, right? Pension, if they work for the government, no more corporate pensions anymore, 401k and Social Security. And they put those together and they go, oh, look at, and I got my $8,000 a month. Why don't you just do what I did? And I remember growing up in that as a young adult, trying to make it in jobs, going, my God, this is horrible. Like, you don't understand. You can't keep a job. You can't hold on to it. You're not valued. Companies are downsizing like crazy and restaffing like crazy. And it's very, very, very difficult. And there was not a lot of empathy. And I don't want to make the same mistake. So that's what I advocated before. Do what I did. Self-study. Just teach yourself skills. It's a never-ending tech meritocracy. Don't treat yourself like a blank slate and say learn to code. Not everybody is mentally geared that way. Figure out the kind of person you are, people person, artistic or creative or coding, engineer type, mathematically inclined person, and pick that path in tech and just self-study, buy your Udemy courses and go. And I can't do that. I'd be blinded by my own past if I said, go do that right now. Go move out of your parents' house as soon as possible. If you're in your 20s, like, yeah, that would be nice in a perfect world. Now, what I'm saying now is, okay, you're in your early 20s. Your parents are willing to let you be there while you work on that Shopify site or that YouTube channel. Go for it, dude. Go for it. Great. It's like you can be independent later. It's not like you're going to date in your 20s unless you meet that really rare person. Like, you haven't built your value yet. It's going to be miserable for you in your 20s. So just, do that later in life. And it's living, it's a cultural shift, right? It's living like we're becoming more third world. Like, that's how they do it. Till you're on your feet, you live with your parents. Till you find the girl you're going to marry, you live with your parents. Why would you waste the money? Why would you burn it? And I know I'm doing a 180 on this on you guys. I gotta be honest. With my career. So after I've been laid off twice in 6 months, and I'm going full bore on entrepreneurship. That's it. Because look, it's like I have colleagues of mine that have been 200K plus tech people with VP titles that have gone jobless for 18 months. So the job that I lost, I was at for 10 years. I was laid off due to AI mania. Literally, the company, what Ed Zitron calls business idiots, the company hired all of these doofuses with AI consultant in their title and sold the CEO on this employeeless world, right? And all the people with all this great knowledge of the company, the products, tremendous tribal knowledge. Well, you just got to go get out, right? And I must have applied to thousands of jobs after that. When I'm hardcore on jobs, I don't waste any time. Usually don't take time off. At that moment, I kind of saw the writing on the wall, so I had my resume and portfolio ready before the layoff even happened and started that day. and made that my full-time job applying to jobs. Got there's an app you can get for Chrome that looks at the keywords and keyword stuffs your resume. So you gotta tailor every resume you're sending to the keywords offered in the posting, or it's not even going to get looked at. So I'm not talking I sent 10 resumes out. I'm talking I sent thousands. At least 100 a day. Nothing. How did I get the next gig? Well, it was my first boss at the previous job who left years ago knew me. So she's like, I want you to come work for me because I know you. That's the only way they can see through all the fog of war, right, in this ridiculous AI slop world. So I got that until what happened there? Well, hire another AI idiot from the outside, stuck her in a very high position. I'm not opposed to, like, I think companies should play with AI. What's the proper place? The R&D department. Play with it. See if you can get an ROI out of this. But no, we got to completely uproot the core business operation, everybody. So they stuck this business idiot into a position more senior than my boss. And what did she do? She just started scratching people off the list, right? Not because AI replaced my job, but on the false promise of trying to make, heaven on earth, Shangri-La happen by way of AI. So, now I got to take time off. I don't have it in me to send my resume out 1,000 times. I'm totally over it. I can't recommend it. And now I'm all in entrepreneurship. So I've kind of come full circle. I'm like, Robert Kiyosaki was right. Yeah, you gotta get out from under your parents' wings and you gotta develop. But we're living in a different world now, and the poor young adults, right? I mean, you think it's hard being someone who's saltier, got some gray in my beard here, been doing it for 15 years. Imagine being a newcomer and you don't have the experience when overqualified people are having to be underemployed if they can get anything. And okay, so you got an idea for an app and your parents are feeding you. Go for it, dude. Go for it. You can have an opportunity to sidestep all this rat race BS. Go for it, man. Do it. You got an idea for a YouTube channel. There are people with all kinds of fun, creative YouTube channels that are just entertaining, make people smile and laugh, or informative. Go for it, man. Do it. Do it. You have an entrepreneurial idea and you've got a parent who's willing to support you. You know what? Go for it. How could I possibly recommend a life path that does not work anymore? If you are fortunate enough, see, we all knew that the Office Space thing was like, that was the best you did. We all knew that, like, working in the cubicle farm, working for a company, it was never that hot. It's kind of a soul-sucking thing, and that's no secret. They try to play it up like the corporate ethic is that, which I really disagree with. It. Like, companies act like they got to motivate you, so they treat you like an idiot. Like, oh, well, ice cream socials and picnics in the park and that movie nights and bring your family, that's going to motivate you. And they've proven they don't really care about what motivates people, because if you're a white collar worker, there's no reason why you can't work from home. This is what motivates people. What motivates people? Stop torturing me with these commutes. Let me live where I want to live. I live the way I want to live. I set my own schedule, and that helps people work harder and just be projectized and stop all the micromanaging. But after COVID, that freaked all the middle managers out, right? All the hierarchy and the bottlenecks on communication were under threat, because people can just communicate with each other directly. It's a digital age. It's called matrixed management, right? You just communicate directly with people. But that was a threat to people. It was a threat to the multi-billion-dollar corporate commercial real estate racket. Return to the office, rah, 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 rah. And then they were parroting it on all the business networks and, Fox Business and everywhere. Why? Because where else do people watch that stuff? If not on the big TV at the office. That's self-serving, right? Where else are you playing that crap? In the lobby, up on the damn TVs, and your boss has got it on one monitor. So they had no data to back up this return to the office. Oh, you work better shoulder to shoulder, blah, 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 blah. No, So, but it's soul sucking and terrible. But what was the upside to being an employee? It was at the time the most efficient way, let me finish, the most efficient way to realize an income that was reliable. In other words, to start a business, you got a path to wealth there, but there's a lot of trial and error. There's a lot of failure. There's a lot of going without. A lot of it's investing your own capital in it. So going from an employee to moonlighting your own business was a great way to go because you got to live. And I was a big advocate of this, of like, yeah, but you got to grow up. You got to move out. You got to be on your own. That's important too. Moonlight the business, make the transition. That's Robert Kiyosaki's little cash flow quadrant, right? He's got E to B. You had B and I, business and investor, on one side of this little grid, and E for employee and S for self-employed. And you see, he drew the arrow, right? B or S, self-employed, to business owner or investor. And I'd say even like being a employee is a better lifestyle than being self-employed, because at least there are some guardrails around being an employee. You don't call me after hours, or there's weekends, paid holidays, PTO. If you're you own your own business, it's like you gotta worry about paying payroll, and it's being a small business owner is really tough. Unless it's a digital, right? What Robert Kiyosaki said is there's a key difference between business owner and self-employed. Employee means you have a job, and self-employed is you own a job, but you're still grinding the wheel, doing whatever. And that's in many ways rougher than being an employee. So that was the most efficient way of establishing steady state of income. And benefits are nice, and it's soul crushing, but what you do with your spare time is up to you. So you can moonlight, and you can find ways to get out of that rat race, as Kiyosaki calls it. But honestly, you can't count on that anymore. It doesn't deliver stability anymore. It's not just a matter of, well, you're not trying hard enough. No. I mean, it's like the well's drying up, guys. Oh, the trades. I know. Okay, so now this is floating around, right? The last bastion of this skill-based meritocracy are the blue-collar trades. Learn to code has become learn to be a plumber, learn to weld, get your CDL, go drive a truck. Great. So I'm saying good. That's probably the last bastion of the employee, self-employed. Humanoid robots may replace it, but I think that's a long way off. For your CDL stuff, self-driving trucks might, but I think that's probably dangerous and not as safe as a human behind the wheel, to be honest. But that's not for everyone. Like, look, I'm 46. I have mixed connective tissue disease. I can't do that. So it's like, and even if you're a younger man, right? There are plenty of older guys who are just fine with the blue collar, but it's just me. You may have a health problem. There's lots of younger people with health problems. I'm not going to be a boomer and call you a whiner and dismiss what you're going through. I just hate that crap. Like, be cool with each other. We know there's plenty of young people with congenital issues or health problems as one. And secondly, it's a personality thing. Like, if you're this kind of person that's more of a creative type person, and you work better in the space of sitting in front of a computer, it's not always a good fit to just go, I'm just going to go be a mechanic or a welder or sit behind a wheel of a truck for 8, 9, 10 hours a day. We're not these blank slates. So you can't always do that. It's just as silly as when the learn to code thing was being memed at for the truck drivers and stuff. It's like, well, a lot of them can't just learn to code. That's a personality thing. That's a totally different inverted skill set than someone who works with their hands and is blue collar. So fine. So that's the new learn to code is blue collar trades going to the trade. Well, that just I'm saying if that's for you, great. If you got a lot of people, like I live in Idaho, there's a lot of young people that's kind of their genetic makeup is I'm just gonna go be a firefighter, or I'm gonna go um to journeyman school, electrician, lineman, whatever. God bless you. Great. That okay. So we can endorse that. But then anything's like, well, what about the white collar people? What if you're like a heady white collar type person? Well, you know what? Solopreneur, YouTube channel, Shopify. I don't know. You let me know. But tech is dead. It's in the toilet right now. And if you're supported, make good use of it, because I know. A very close friend of mine who is older than me is living off of her boomer parents, same career as mine, higher up, because she can't get a job. She's taken odd jobs in the industry, but is severely underemployed. And the only way she can support her kids and her family, her husband works too. He's a blue collar guy, doesn't make as much as she does, is to live off her parents. So it just makes me wonder, well, what happened when the boomers pass and they can't be supporting people? Is everyone going to have to accept a lower standard of living? Well, yeah. Thanks, government. Thanks, Fed, for screwing everything up. Thanks, money printers. And regulators and all this crap, right? And so you have to learn to live in this world where people are going to huddle together. You're going to see more people living with their parents for longer, delaying dating, delaying marriage, and just focusing on finding something that works. Go for it, because you can't count on the corporate ladder anymore. And it wasn't that great to begin with, to tell you the truth. So let me know what you think, and have a great day. Hope to hear from you. Thanks.